And hello, everybody, and welcome again to the CESQ Social Distancing Sunday School class. Happy to see you. Wish you were here. Wish we could talk about this instead of me just talking about it, but we're being obedient to the science. We're being obedient to what we know is spiritually right, to take care of ourselves and take care of our brothers and sisters during this pandemic. So, we're having our social distancing Bible class. Today, our lesson is, okay, Dorothy, have it together now. Okay, I put it in the wrong place. Forgive me. But I want to say it right. So, today, our lesson is called to be heir. And of course, we're talking about Jesus. And I think you'll agree with me that the reason that the commentary writers put these two lessons together is that it shows the Old Testament prophecy about Jesus. Even though it's in Matthew, it's Matthew recalling Jesus's lineage from the Old Testament unto present. And then we go over into Hebrews, and Hebrews gives us the connection between Jesus as heir. So let's start reading. Our first scripture comes from Matthew, the first chapter, the first through the 6 verses, and I'm sorry, yeah, that's right, and the 16th through the 17th verses. That's the first scripture. The second scripture comes from Hebrews, the first chapter, the first through the 5th verses. So let's get started. And as usual, I'm reading from the Message, the Bible translated into our everyday conversation. Okay, here we go. The family tree of Jesus Christ, David's son, Abraham's son. Abraham had Isaac. Isaac had Jacob. Jacob had Judah and his brothers. Judah had Perez and Zerah. The mother was Tamar. Perez had Hezron. Hezron had Abram. Abram had, okay, I need to stop and say this one. Amminadab. Amminadab had Nahshon. Nahshon had Salmon. Salmon had Boaz. His mother was Rahab. Boaz had Obed. Ruth was the mother. Obed had Jesse. Jesse had David. And David became king. Now that's the first through the 6 verses. And here are the 16th through the 17th verses. Jacob had Joseph, Mary's husband, the Mary who gave birth to Jesus, the Jesus who was called Christ. There were 14 generations from Abraham to David, another 14 from David to Babylon, to the Babylonian exile, and yet another 14 from the Babylonian exile to Christ. When I finish reading the Hebrew, I'm going to tell you, talk to you a little bit about why that was important, these 14 years. So from Hebrews, we're reading from the first chapter, the first through the 5th verses. Okay. After he finished the sacrifice for sin, let me go to the first. Going through a long line of prophets, God has been addressing our ancestors in different ways for centuries. Recently, he spoke to us directly through his Son. By his Son, God created the world in the beginning, and it will all belong to the Son at the end. This Son perfectly mirrors God and is stamped with God's nature. He holds everything together by what he says. Powerful words. After he finished the sacrifice for sins, the Son took his honored place high in the heavens right alongside God, far higher than any angel in rank and rule. Did God ever say to an angel, "You're my son, today I celebrate you," or "I'm his father, he's my son"? When he presents his honored son to the world, he says, all angels must worship him. And so, as I said, to understand this lesson, what we need to consider is that in the Old Testament, in those days, they used the lineage of the father to explain, even though in parentheses they would say to you who the mother was. But the lineage goes from father to son and then who he's the father of. And so this lesson describes Jesus' human heritage. It stresses the fact that Jesus was born into this earth as a human being. Though his birth was divine, he was also of a human lineage. And then Hebrew tells us what his divine lineage was. It tells us that God created Jesus for the main purpose of saving us, of saving us through teaching us who he is, which means also who God is. Jesus was both divine and human. Jesus was both human and divine. And so in other scriptures you'll find that Jesus teaches us that we are able to take on his sonship, that he is like an elder brother. And if we follow his commandments, if we behave the way that he behaved, if we solve problems the way he taught us to solve problems, then we can call God our Father. Jesus said, and that's why we say our Father. When he taught the disciples to pray, he told them to pray in this manner: our Father, which is in heaven. And so Jesus didn't set himself up as so high and so mighty that he couldn't teach us to be like him. It gives us a picture of how we are to be as parents. It tells us that God loved his son, and he loved him enough to sacrifice him to teach his other children, us, how to live, how to find abundance on this earth. And he further suggests in the Old Testament as well as the New that this is how we are to rear our children. We are to rear our children in such a way that we don't set ourselves up so high and so mighty that they can't reach an understanding as adults that they can be whoever God wanted them to be. And so if we share with our children that yes, they have a human heritage, that they are, in my case, my boys are the son of Brad, and in parentheses, Dorothy. But that sonship doesn't set Brad up so high that he is better than his children. Actually, what he wants to do is behave in a way that his children can feel that they are as good as and able to be like him. When I say like him, I don't mean that they have to work the same job that he worked, but I mean spiritually like him, that they can love, that they can treat people right, that they can follow the commandments, that they're not too hard for them to follow. And so we're getting ready. We're approaching the season of Christmas. And, we get all excited, and sometimes we think that Christmas is only about giving gifts to people and giving them what they want and making sure our children understand that we love them through the gifts we give. Well, God taught us that he loved us through the gift that he gave, which was Jesus. But he didn't have to keep giving and giving and giving and have us in competition for the gifts that he gave. He gave us all Jesus. And so we make a mistake if we think we're celebrating Christmas and just by giving our children gifts. We need to help them understand the gift that God gave us of his son Jesus to teach us the way. So part of our responsibility at Christmas is to be charitable, to be joyous, to accept the human family as our family, to give as we are blessed, to give to those who don't have what we have. Give, and love, love, love is the story of what Jesus, who is the heir of God, blessed us with when he gave us this gift. So it would be nice if we would think as we give to our children, how can we show them every day what has been given to them so that they can give to others? Because every good gift is the kind of gift that you pass on. And so this lesson today is to remind us that Jesus, number one, was both human and divine. And also to remind us that God loved us enough to have Jesus come to us, walk this earth. My understanding is that his ministry was 3 years, the powerful number of 3. And in that 3 years, he taught his disciples, and those words were written down so that we would know that every problem we have can be solved. Every illness we have can be healed. That every relationship we have can be healed. How? Through following the teachings of Jesus. We'd be really shocked to learn that if in every situation we would ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? We would see what the gift of Jesus is, not just the whole mankind, but to our individual lives. I did not tell you what the lesson is for next Sunday because I don't think I wrote it down. I hope you'll forgive me. I thought I did. Let's see. Oh, yes, I did. Next Sunday, our lesson is called to be Emmanuel. And we're coming out of Matthew, the first chapter, through the first chapter, 18th verse through the 25th verse. So it's not a real long scripture. I hope you'll study with me. I do also want to say that as I was reading the lineage, you'll notice that I didn't go from the beginning to the end. That was not included in our lesson. But another thing that comes out of our scripture that I didn't mention is that if you go back and you look at those people who were in the lineage of Jesus, all of them had characteristics that are a culmination of characteristics that we can have to be more like Jesus. So it's not just the calling of names, it's also the understanding of their contribution. My dear friend Dallas Foster used to remind us all the time that God uses the people he wants, and that he loved Rahab, who was a prostitute and was not a follower of the Jewish faith. But God gave her an assignment to do that saved his people, and he rewarded her because Rahab, the prostitute, was in the lineage of Jesus. And so if we think that whatever our situation is in our life, that we can't be used, we need to start thinking again. Because God uses great people, but he also uses ordinary people. So I close with that. I've enjoyed being with you. I hope to see you again next Sunday. Bye-bye.